Good morning. Happy Tuesday, August 5th. August 5th. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yes.
Interesting. Miss Wilkinson, let's get you on the road here.
Good morning. Good morning. So today India's out, so I'm here for her to sit in for her. She is sick, and hopefully she'll be back tomorrow. So for today, if you guys need anything, reach out to myself, to Victoria, or to Summer. And of course, Megan is still out. Everybody's doing well. The baby's doing well, and they're all adjusting. So remember, send any of your transactions to the closing box. So closing AB at ptitlefl.com.
Cool. And we have a class coming up next week.
Yeah, we have a class coming up next Thursday. It's going to be on Title Toolbox, and they're also going to do a refresher on the Fan Agent app. And Chris is going to go over that with us.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Busy so far?
We've been pretty busy. The girls, well, since we're working on a skeleton crew, we've been pretty busy. We did really good last month. We closed 43 files for July.
Nice.
So, good. Yeah.
You guys do a very good job. Thank you, Paramount Title.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Okay. Put it in my agenda, if you will. I got a short broker briefing for you today, but it's mean evil. So we did Paramount Title. Today's enlightened perspective is a little bit deeper than normal. It says a spiritual person tends to focus on developing a sense of purpose or meaning in life beyond material possessions or external achievements. Interesting, because we focus so much in real estate on having income to buy things, but really, what do we want?
The experience.
Experience, feelings. We want the feeling that those things give us. So if we focus on the material stuff, we're not going to feel comfortable, which kind of makes sense to me. So that was a good one for today. 4 points today. BBAs and stressing their importance. We were just talking about this today.
Yeah.
So yesterday, we've got a customer who signed a BBA with a broker until October. The daughter, who they're buying together, signed a BBA with a different brokerage. They want to fire broker A, but they've got the termination fee agreement, and they want to hire a new buyer broker agreement with us. So what happened to screw that up? Somebody didn't explain the fact that when you sign a BBA, you're signing a legally binding contract, right? So I think it's incumbent on all of us when we're doing this. We're not just saying, here, sign this, sign this, sign this, sign this. We have to explain to them, this is a commitment. It's a bilateral commitment. Tell me what you showed me this morning.
So we have a listing, and we represented the buyer as well. It came to the contract. The buyer, through this process, says, I don't want to work with you anymore. I want to work with my own agent. And after discussion with him, it basically comes, I was like, look, I'm not going to force you to, but I need you to understand that your buyer broker agreement states that if the termination date of this buyer broker agreement comes to pass, while you're under contract, the agreement automatically extends to closing. So we can terminate this agreement. I'll move the termination date of your buyer broker agreement to today. So your buyer broker agreement terminates today, but the obligations of the agreement shall extend until closing. Just letting you know, you go use whoever you want, talk to whatever agent you want. I'll gladly
buy this house.
Yep. I'll gladly communicate with that other agent to bring this to a successful closing so I can continue working for the seller and make sure that happens. But you know, you're going to have to compensate that agent because I'm not compensating him.
Right.
So, yeah.
So that's happening in the marketplace. So we need to make sure we're taking our responsibilities. Jackie's saying they never asked for a compensation agreement, use FF or GG. And this is the industry. It was actually perfect for us.
Well, let's talk about that, because we have a couple instances where we get called on that. We're receiving offers and there's no mention of compensation anywhere. We're receiving offers and there's no mention of compensation anywhere, whereas it's not our job to police the other agents and make sure that they get paid. we do have a duty to the seller, correct?
Yep.
And if we get halfway to closing or we get a week before closing and all of a sudden there's an issue because the buyer agent thought there was compensation, the buyer now has to pay the buyer agent, can that cause a wrench in this contract and potentially create a closing problem where we may not be able to close because the buyer doesn't have the funds to pay the agent and the agent is going to be a real blowhard and refuse to help get to closing or waive the fee because he made a mistake? So it is incumbent on us to have that conversation when something gets submitted. Just wanted to clarify, I don't see any reference to compensation inside this offer. You probably want to have that conversation because it's going to come
It's
up.
incumbent upon us to solve the problem before it happens.
Yeah, we don't want to wait until a week before closing. Same reason that we recommend having a pre-listing inspection. We're gonna find out about the problems during an inspection. Why don't we address it prior to so we don't create a bigger problem down the road?
Yeah. All right, so that's point one. Point two, Elevate 21. That was a big cluster F, right? Century 21 had nothing to do with it. I called Century 21 and asked them to give us a rebate on 121 discounts. They said, Craig, legal said we have nothing to do with this. We can't admit any wrongdoing. We're good. So what we decided to do, if you paid for your own pass, give us proof of that receipt on your next closing, and we're going to pay you back. So,
But it's
it screwed us too, because I paid for 15 of them.
so you'll have to have your receipt for the pass that you purchased. You'll want to submit everything through Dotloop, upload a PDF to your paid at closing file, submit a paid at closing, have your receipt in there, notate the deal sheet in some way, shape, or form so that we know that, and have that all together, and we'll process it as needed, but it'll get paid to you on your next closing. So
yeah,
we'll talk about that at first.
They canceled the event. Yeah. All right, number 3. Mid-year awards came out, which is kind of cool. Right? So did you get notified yet? We're gonna call you on them. So we'll probably see it this afternoon. And then this Friday is gonna be our first top agent event in the year. So if you were a top agent for any of the quarters last year, you got invited to the Starship. We have 100 and something people coming.
We're capped out at 100. So if you've RSVP'd, you're going. If you haven't, there's no more space left. If you need to cancel the event, if you've RSVP'd and you need to cancel, please communicate directly to Susie Brush at C21BE if you cannot make the event. Because we do have people, we have a wait list of people that we would like to go. So if you cannot go, please let Susie Brush know so she can try to coordinate. It's not going to be just something so simple because we have to have a register of everybody's name that's going on the ship. So we're going to have to do some replacing. So please just let us know. We'll do our best to get anybody who's on the wait list on. And if you have to cancel, please, please, please let us know.
And the ship leaves at noon. So if you're there at 12:05, too late. And we come back at 2. And you can't get off early, so it is what it is. Showcase listing of the week. We're getting a lot more showcase listings now, which is nice. This is Jessica Roman's listing. 2,400 page views and 245 saves after 42 days on the market. That's huge. And then look at the email sheet. Emails delivered 319 individual property emails and 217 were opened. So that is what, 75%? That's a huge open rate. And you can see how many more people are engaging with the showcase listings. So what's your key to that? Use it on a listing presentation to get higher price listings. It's definitely worth 225. It really was before. It was. Real estate is actually 2 pages down. This is just reminders, page 4. That one. Things to be aware of. You have a new listing presentation. I hope you guys have it in your Moxie. It should be there automatically. There are new condo disclosures. You have to make sure they're updated on your listings. Expired listings are becoming real. Are you in constant communication with your sellers and telling them the truth? Number 5, are you using Zillow Showcase to earn higher commissions? And just a little plug for convention coming up in April at the Bellagio in Las Vegas. That's gonna be a big event because we haven't had one of those in 2 years either. Now real satisfied. If you don't mind, would you read those for me?
Sure. Because this is the company that what we keep. Here's what Francis Brown had to say. I considered a couple of agencies for a realtor. I spoke with a friend in the business and he had high regards for Jamie. From the moment she took me on as a client, I got A1 treatment. I was sent links to homes daily that fit my criteria. We went out to several showings and put in a few offers. We pushed through and finally got an accepted offer with great terms. There were a few hiccups along the way with my mortgage lender. Jamie worked tirelessly to ensure things worked out for me. I appreciate her getting in contact with my insurance agent to finally get the small details worked out so closing could occur. My daughter is in the works to get a home next year, and we will most definitely be calling on Jamie again to help close the deal.
So what's good about that? That's the company we keep. She got A1 treatment. She's going to refer her again. She's appreciating for the insurance help and the mortgage assistance. That's what we do, right? Second one.
Sure. Jen was incredibly dedicated to meeting our goals and understood how important the timeline was to us. If I couldn't be home to bring my dog out before a showing, Jen would stop by and take care of her for me. She prioritized our comfort and safety throughout the process, ensuring we never missed a showing opportunity. Jen's marketing was also above and beyond, including walkthrough videos before each open house. If you're selling your home, you need to chat with Jen. Cool story. This was an expired listing. This was also her first listing with us and her first closing with us.
Wow.
So congratulations. Yeah, awesome
And
job.
now you can add dog walker to your job description.
Charge 3% too.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's all I got for today.
Cool.
All
Cool.
good. Yeah.
You want to talk about expired listings real quick? Are you guys seeing a lot of expireds come up? So whatever area you work in, if farming is one of your avenues or your neighborhood that you live in, or you may want to take that on, expired listings is a really good avenue to pick up and start focusing on right now. You know, with expired listings being the way that they are, in the next 3, 6, 12 months, you're going to see a lot more opportunities coming around on that expired side. And I just think of one specific neighborhood over here where one agent has the lion's share of all the listings. They are not selling. They're expiring already and they are relisting with other brokerages. And when you have the stats that we've given you, that 50% of them list within the first 12 months and then another 30% list within the next 12 months after that. So like 70 to 80% of them are going to list within the next 2 years. You're literally filling your pipeline with opportunities for the next 2 years. And you have a 40% higher likelihood of selling when you hire a new agent rather than the same agent. Why would that be? Somebody chat in and tell me, why would you have almost a nearly 50% higher likelihood of selling with a brand new agent than listing with the same agent? Because they've already been exposed to the market for however long it was, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months sometimes. We've had listings on the market for a year and we're seeing them come back on. Why would they be more likely to sell with a new agent? Who likes to be wrong? Raise your hand if you like to be wrong. Yeah. I'm the only person with my hand up, right? Nobody likes to be wrong. And a listing agent is going to fight for what they believe in. And sometimes your acceptance of a seller's listing price pigeonholes you into this area where you don't want to object to the seller. You don't want to tell them something's wrong with the price because you don't want to offend them. Right now, more than ever, we really just need the truth. The truth is your property is probably overpriced, even though we're priced like everything else that's sold in this market. The truth is there's a home similar to yours that is under contract for $50,000 less than what we are listed for, and it's similar to yours.
And when it closes, you got a new comp that you can't just.
And it's not just that it's $50,000 less, it's that we're selling homes at 90 to 95%, 97% of the list price. So on a $500,000 home, a home sold at 95% of the list price is 5% lower. That's $25,000. That means that $500,000 pending home could be $475 to $500 potentially. Those are discussions that need to be had. Every seller wants to leave room for negotiation, but when they pick their list price, they don't want to negotiate off of it very much. They only want to be $3,000 to $5,000 below. They're like really stuck on that number. until we get an offer, they need to understand what list price to sale price ratio is. They need to understand what absorption rate is, what we just talked about on Monday. Homes, an absorption rate is how fast the market is absorbing the listings as they come on the market. Some of our neighborhoods have 3 month supply of homes. Some have 11, 15, 18-month supply of homes. Those discussions need to be had with a seller. They need to understand, why is my home not have an offer? Why has nobody seen my home? We've been on market for 90 days so far. Because we have a 15-month supply of homes and we are on the top end of everything that's available for sale, and we're $100,000 above what the closest pending comparable was, even though the recent sold comps keep us in the range, even though we're on the high end. That conversation needs to be had. It's not our decision, it's the seller's decision, but they need the information to be able to make a decision, right? If we're not giving them the information, at what point will they decide they need to sell their home? At what point will something come up to them where something happens in their life where they have to be out of this home? It's going to happen. And when that happens, they should know what it's going to take to sell their home. They should get a weekly update that shows them everything that's going on in the market. If you're using Showcase, you have another tool that provides another weekly update showing emails, open rates, save rates, people clicking on that property. It shows them all that information. If you're Is the report sent out weekly? No, the report is available to you and you can download it through your Showcase when you log in. The reports are in your Showcase. Anything you want to add on that? No?
I mean, it doesn't automatically do it,
Yeah, it's
but
not an
my
automatic.
recommendation would be to use that along with the Golden Ruler report, along with an email that kind of talks through all
Yeah.
those things.
If you want something to use as a template, we have a weekly seller email template that a lot of you have used. I can send it to you and you could use that. You can make it your own. But they need to know we've been on market for this long. Here is what Zillow is saying, because this is what the public sees for the most part. Most people shop on Zillow. Zillow owns the home shopping. We own the home closed with MLS, but Zillow owns home shopping. They own the buyer eyes. So this is what's going on Zillow. Here's the saves, here's the likes, here's the engagement, here's the email open rate, here's everything that we have through Zillow. Here's what's going on in MLS. This is what the professionals are saying. Here's the ones that they've rejected your property. Here's the ones that they're looking past your property. Here's the one that they've sent it to their clients. Look how many views we've got, but no showings. This is what the professionals are saying about your listing. And then here's what the MLS says for the actives in the last 7 days, the pendings in the last 7 days, and the solds in the last 7 days. Here's what's happened in this last week since our last communication. They will basically be asking you to reduce the price or what they should do next when you keep giving them information. It's happened multiple times where we give them these updates for 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row. They see everything going on in the market and then they come to you and said, what should we do? Well, the recommendation in my previous email was to get it to at least in the recommended range that we discussed, which was between 5 and 525. We're currently at 550. My recommendation would be to get it into the 525 and under range. Currently, most homes are selling on the lower end of that range. So I would really like to be on the lower end of that range if you need to sell your home. Well, I think we want to go to 535. Wonderful. Are you okay if your home is not the next one to go under contract? Are you okay with that? I'm okay with that if you're okay with that, but I have a job to do and it's to make sure you know what it takes to sell your home, and then it's your job to decide how many of these things you're willing to do. It's that simple. We need to be having more of those conversations. Then come to the buyer side. What should your buyers know right now? What should every single one of your buyers know right now that they probably don't know?
They've got more negotiation power.
They have more negotiating power. Most of them know that. They kind of know that. Some of them might need to hear that again, but what do most of your buyers need to know? They really need to know that 8 out of the last 10 deals that your lender did had seller concessions included in them. Call your lender and ask them, what percentage of your last contracts had seller concessions included? They're probably going to tell you probably at least 60 to 80% of them had seller concessions. So maybe your buyer needs to know that if this seller isn't willing to give concessions, we might want to move on to the next one. They might want to hear that. Unless this is the perfect home for you and you're willing to pay that to get the home. If it's not the perfect home, maybe we might want to move on to another one that's similar where we can get you a lower payment and keep some cash in your pocket. They should have that conversation. Every buyer should also know, the ones that are on your sideline, what else should they know? Stop waiting for rates to be in the fives. I can get you rates in the fives right now. I have a lender that can give you a product. It'll give you a 5-1 arm, get you into the fives. The low to mid fives if you have great credit, a 5-1 arm. They have a 7-1 arm. I can get you a 5% rate. If you go FHA or VA and we get the right concessions, I could get you into the fives right now again with good credit, with a proper buy down, getting your rate into the fives. You're waiting for an interest rate that's already available. You need to get out now and start negotiating with sellers to get lower payments, closing cost concessions, and the house that you want before you have to compete. Because what's going to happen in September? We just had a stall on interest rates in the last week, but what's going to happen in September? There's another meeting. There's another potential to reduce interest rates. And if that happens, what's the potential that could happen? It could happen. And if it doesn't happen, your buyer is still in the same position. They still have more negotiating power, can get a lower payment, a lower rate, and concessions because they have the market more in favor of them right now. These are all the conversations you should be having with buyers and sellers. If your seller has not had an honest conversation and a full update every single week since they've been on the market, you're missing an opportunity to give them more information to make a better decision. If your buyer hasn't heard that the majority of all the contracts I'm writing have seller concessions, interest rates are in the fives right now, I can get them for you in the fives if you have good credit. Let's talk with my lender. And you have more negotiating power than you've ever had. We need to be talking right now. Those are conversations that we should have. They should also, depending on where you're at, every single one of us is at least anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes away from a new construction community. If your buyer's considering a home, you may want to make sure they know that there's a new construction community that might be 15 minutes outside of their area, but does it make sense for them to get that home because it'll be a $300 less payment per month? Potentially. They should have that as a consideration. These are all conversations that you should be having with your buyers and your sellers. And if you're not, you're missing out. Your listing will be one of the expireds. Your buyer will be one that's sitting on the sidelines until someone tells them this, and then they will get back into the market, and it might not be with you. So we need to make sure we're having more of these conversations.
Chris, the class I did yesterday was, what did I do? Wesley Chapel, 439 listings, 60 were expired.
Yep.
In the last 6 months. That's 15% of listings. Oh,
Yep. Expireds are becoming a lot more prevalent. And a lot of sellers still think it's 2021, and a lot of buyers think it's 2008. It's not 2008. You're not getting 100,000, 150,000 off the list price unless you're buying a $2 million home. That's for the most part. And it's not 2021. Your seller, you're not going to get $10, $20, $50,000 over the list price when you already overpriced it by $10, $20, $30,000. It's just the reality. We're going to end up with more expired listings. Who's going to get the lion's share of those expired listings? I've been saying this for 2-3 months. I really would love for someone to step up and take over the expired listings in your area and then report back and come back and say, hey, I did what you asked us to do. I started talking to the expireds. I have this many people in my pipeline. I've listed this many. And I may not have the listings right now, but I know that these people said they're going to try after the first of the year, and I'm the one they're going to go with because I talked to them now. What's going to happen between now and the end of the year? What is it? Labor Day, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's. What did I miss? There's a bunch of others. They're going to get in front of other people. A bunch of other agents are going to be sending them calendars, postcards, emails, phone calls for every single holiday that's out there. They're going to go to a dinner and their brother, sister's friend's cousin is going to have a real estate license and they're going to tell them something like we just talked about, and they're going to start thinking about what they could do rather than sitting on the sidelines anymore, whether it's a buyer or a seller, and you need to be the one that's in front of them. So more conversations. Right now, come down to the business. What is the reality of this business? For 2 hours out of the day, you really need to be talking to people. What 2 hours out of the day do you talk to buyers and or sellers, potential people in the real estate market? What 2 hours out of every day do you do that? If you do not know that, that is your first challenge. Figure out what 1 hour at the very minimum, but what 2 hours out of the day do you create new conversations with people to give you a potential to get them into your pipeline? Whether they're a right now buyer or right now seller, it does not matter. You need to be having more conversations so you come across more of those opportunities. That's what we need to be doing right now. They keep projecting the number of sales for the year. It was 4.3 million, then at 4.2, now it's down to 4.1. So they keep bringing the projections down, which means a few less sales, which means that the people who are putting the work in are going to get the deals. We need to be the ones putting the work in. If you're not putting the work in, don't be mad at the results you didn't get from the work you didn't put in. Don't be mad at the muscle you didn't build from the weight you didn't lift. You got to put the work in. When are you putting your work in? What day, what time, how long, who are you calling, how many you do it? When do you know when you stop? Let's create some opportunities and let's make the rest of this year an awesome year. We're already up for a company-wide. We're up about 6% as a company for revenue and for GCI. Let's keep that push on to the end of the year, because if we're the ones having these conversations, we're the one that are going to be creating these opportunities. And we want you to have more of those opportunities, which is why we do what we do, bring the messages we do to you, the daily training, the emails, and everything that we do, and have the Beggins University and Century 21 Beggins and C21 Beggins. We have all of this available to you so that you are more equipped to go out and get more opportunities. So let's make that happen.
Take advantage of the tools.
Yep. All right. With that being said, it is a happy Tuesday, August 5th.